charge. Uh, as a result of all these heinous crimes, I sentence you to death by firing squad following this court proceeding. If an officer would please step forward, cuff the defendant. Officers, if you'd line up out in front of the courthouse after this, we will carry out that punishment.
Oh, yes, sir.
Would be my pleasure, sir.
Very good. You will be.
Is that a perm?
All right. The next case would be the Cameron Patcher case. Is that correct, defense?
Yes, the state will want to know if the death penalty is going to be a perm, Your Honor.
We'll leave that up to the defendant. If not, we'll blast the shit out of him and give him 10 months in prison.
All right, Your Honor.
If the defendant would like to avoid that 10 months in prison, he may accept that as a final death.
Your Honor, I'd also like to bring light to the fact that they've already all served some time for this raid, and I'd like that to be brought into consideration and possibly get life without parole as opposed to the death penalty.
That's a no-go on that one, but if he decides to take the option of death with prison, we'll knock it off of his prison sentence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I'm...
You correct.
Prosecution, how much time have these defendants already served?
To my knowledge, Your Honor, they served 5 days before the posted bill, Your Honor.
All right, 5 days off. All right, next up, the Commonwealth San Andreas versus Cameron Patcher. All right, Mr. Patcher, you are charged with the unlawful possession of an NFA Class 3 firearm.
This shit boring as fuck. I'm gonna start doing my homework.
Let me check the evidence on that one.
Bro, my boy Stowell just got fucking white. Fucking death sentence, bro. What do you mean boring? I've already been fucking processed, man.
No contest, Your Honor.
Alright, no contest on the possession of an NFA firearm. Moving on. Let's see. Unlawful discharge of an automatic firearm in the presence of locals. Would the state like to proceed with that charge?
The state would like to drop that charge, Your Honor.
Alright, the state will be dropping the unlawful discharge of an automatic firearm in the presence of locals. Charge 3, unlawful discharge of firearm causing the death of 2 unidentified local residents. Would the state like to proceed with that charge?
The state would like to drop charges 3 and 4, Your Honor.
Alright. Dropping charges, unlawful discharge of firearm leading to the death of 2 locals, and the charge of unlawful discharge of firearm leading to the death of 4 officers of the law. I assume the defense has no objection.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yeah, of course not. Alright, charge 5, unlawful discharge of firearm causing serious bodily damage to 2 officers of the law of 4 counts, or 10 counts, subject to alteration. Would the state like to proceed with that charge?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would like to call witness Lou Sassel to stand, Your Honor.
Alright, defendant, head back with your defense.
You can come sit up here with me if you want.
Mr. Sassel has not been sworn in, bailiff, if you'd care to swear him in for me.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you, Josh. No
Mr.
witnesses
Asshole,
confirmed.
sorry, Sassel, could you speak up for the court?
For that, I apologize, sir. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. If the state would like to proceed with their questioning.
Yes, Your Honor. So the state, so Mr. Sasso, would you please state your name, your rank, and your department for the record?
Surely, my name is Lou Sassel. I am a staff sergeant of Los Santos Police Department, and I am also a member of the San Andreas SWAT team.
Okay. Can you please state your relations to the SWAT team, as in teams?
I am a Ghost 13. I'm a medic on the fire team that was initially on the roof.
Okay. And did you remember or recall anything when you were on the roof?
Yeah, I recall us arriving on scene with the game plan of being able to raid the building and execute the search warrant. We came in there and identified ourselves very clearly, explained to them that we had a search warrant, and we demanded that they put their hands up and comply. So we were able to execute search warrant. And then at that time is when all shots started ringing out from the side of the gentleman there faced behind me, along with the other gentleman who's no longer here and was processed into prison. And at that point, we had no other choice but to use lethal force to intervene in this situation.
Okay. So you're one of the members on the roof, that's correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And did you see or saw Mr. Cameron Patcher over there shoot at you or at any officers?
So I had seen all of the members behind me shoot at officers. And most of them were stationed on the roof initially, and then they started to drop down into the compound off the roof when they were taking fire back from us. So all of the individuals that are in court as defendants have shot at police officers, correct?
Okay. The state will also like to provide two evidences that was taken out from the body cam of Sergeant Riley of the Cameron Patcher allegedly shooting an officer, Your Honor.
All right. I've got the evidence on that one. Has the defense been provided the evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
All right. Does the defense have any questions for the witness?
None at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any statements regarding the evidence?
No, no, sir. As long as it's all been legally and gone through the chain of custody.
It has indeed. Before we move on.
Actually, Your Honor, is this the one that was in charge of the team on the roof?
I believe so, counsel.
Mr. Lusasa, were you in charge of the team, or were you a second in command of the team?
No, that's incorrect. I was a member of the medic squad on the roof. The in charge of the team is the gentleman all the way to my far left, your far right, Your Honor, Delta 1, who is also the head of the SWAT team for San Andreas.
Baldy there.
That's correct, sir. The man with no hair on his head.
All right, Your Honor, I have no questions for this witness, but if the state doesn't object, I'd like to call Delta 1 next.
We could proceed with the trial.
All right, Mr. Sassel, you are dismissed.
All right, thank you for your time, Your Honor.
Let's see. Have you been sworn in yet?
I have.
Me first. All right, it's what's your rank again, sir?
I'm Delta 1 Colonel of SAST.
Colonel. Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't disrespect you by calling you the wrong rank.
Speak up for me there, Baldo.
I'm shouting.
All right, Colonel. Can y'all not hear him?
I couldn't.
Colonel, will you say something towards the judge?
Yep, I'm talking right now.
Do y'all not hear him?
Challenging your
Yeah, I
credibility.
cannot hear him.
Okay. Officer, when you came up
I believe
onto the
that he had
scene,
mentioned he had an
and you
issue
saw
with
those bodies,
his vocal cords.
what was
That
the
may
first thought that
still be a
crossed your
persistent
mind?
issue, sir.
I pulled my
It's
pistol
kind
out
of
and
hard for a
wanted to
witness to
investigate the
testify
scene.
with paralyzed vocal cords.
Upon clearing the scene,
How about now?
Firearm.
Hey, I can hear him now.
There we go.
All right, proceed.
All right, Corporal, were you? You were the one, Colonel. I'm sorry. You were the one in charge of the raid. Is that correct?
That is correct. I developed the game plan and positioned all these SWAT members in their correct position.
All right, and can you kind of walk me through what happened when you arrived on scene?
When we arrived on scene, we came through the back alley. We didn't encounter any contact till we made our way to the black compound, which is the main compound of the Crips. And once we got onto that roof, that's when we started shouting out that we had a search warrant for one and that we wanted their hands up. From there, they proceeded not to listen. We eventually got into a situation where they had their firearms aimed at us and we had to engage the target.
All right, and did any of my clients, not just the one that we're doing right now, but any of them shoot first, or did y'all shoot first?
I believe, well, we did engage first because we had active threats towards us, so firearms aimed at us.
All right, so as opposed to trying to do everything you can to preserve human life, just because the guns were pointed, y'all started shooting?
Well, there's not much to preserve if that individual that you're trying to preserve is trying to kill you at the same time, or potentially kill you.
All right, and is it not against y'all's SOPs to wait for them to shoot first?
It is not in SRPs to wait for them to shoot first. It's for us to identify an active threat and deal with that threat as necessary.
And is that your SOPs as SWAT, or is that your SOPs as SAST?
That's our SOP in every fashion. So SWAT, even beforehand, pre-briefing, I told my guys if there's an active threat, in the case of firearms being aimed at us, that we are to engage that target and use it as an active threat.
Alright, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I have a question for the witness.
Yes.
Prior to opening fire, notification was provided to the suspects in question that a warrant was being served and that they needed to drop any weapons they had. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. For about 2 minutes, we were on the opposing rooftop trying to yell at them, and then we obviously got close enough to we could eventually hear them, and we were still yelling that. It wasn't until we encountered the two subjects on the staircase that were aiming firearms that we've discussed already, that's when shots went off, because at that point they were not failing to comply, and we're still active threats.
Okay, thank you. The state may proceed.
So, Mr. Chris Jameson, can you please explain the use of force for the court?
Yes, so use of force, obviously the main goal of police is to utilize the most minimal amount of force necessary, whether it be our presence for one is our lowest form of force, up to deadly force. Of course, I notified my guys that we want to make sure we detain anyone that is not an active threat and is able to be detained. In this case, all of them had firearms, so we figured that we would match that force with deadly force.
Okay, so you said that, so the use of force, I'm assuming, is basically the situation of the scene, and it's basically your discretion to use as a way to keep you and the other officers safe. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, and I'm assuming you also used your shout. If I did my research correct, shout is one of the use of force. Is that correct?
Yes, I make sure my guys know how to yell before we go into a raid.
Okay, and then the use of lethal force was authorized per your mission operation. Is that correct?
That is correct. I gave my men strict rules of engagement. If they were an active threat, they were permitted to use deadly force if necessary.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I have one more thing.
You may proceed.
Alright, did you at any point, or any member of your team that was involved in this raid, attempt less lethal? Whether it be a beanbag gun, or a taser, or anything like that?
Considering what happened to officers prior to us arriving to do that raid, our main intentions were to mainly take them at gunpoint. Being that 4 officers were sent to the hospital, I think my head popped.
Nope.
I knew that bald shit was a bad sign. Well,